Perhaps the best way to understand our challenge is to see it as a fraction. The simple relationship between the money we devote to education and the number of students in our education system. If the funding decreases, education suffers. If the number of students increases, education suffers. If the funding decreases and the number of students increases, well, then education in Utah is really in trouble.
We really do understand this fraction because it governs so much of what we actually have to do up here.
We don't really know what the future holds for the Utah economy. And so the question that is before us is, how do we prepare and plan to address these issues of significant increases in enrollment relative to the uncertainty we face in our economic future?
On the surface, Utah has two options: reduce education spending or increase taxes. With Utah's per-student spending currently the lowest in the nation, it would seem that increasing taxes is our only choice. But the consequence of such a decision would almost certainly be a major tax increase.
Our home is our security, and you can only afford so much in taxation.
The fundamental problem is that Utah already has very high tax rates. We're in the top 10 in terms of tax rates in the country.
It just is not fair, and there's got to be another way to go about it.
Everyone agrees that something has got to be changed. There's got to be something different.
Looking back to the fraction, imagine if we were to help funding increase while decreasing the number of students.
When we studied at the Employers Education Coalition, what we looked for is what can we do to improve education without increasing the tax burden, and one of the critical pieces of that was some form of voucher system.
With a voucher system, we can reduce the number of kids in the classroom, but we can leave more money for those who choose to have the quality education in our public school system.
For all the good things that the public ed system does, I think we have put an unrealistic burden on them by expecting them to be all things to all people. When we have the opportunity of letting students work with their families and choose a different setting, we're decreasing the numbers of students that are in the classroom in the public ed system. We're improving the amount of money that's in the public ed system. So when you think about who is benefited by these opportunities, who is not?
It's a win for the students, it's a win for the taxpayers, and it's a win for the educators as well.
Governor Huntsman campaigned on vouchers and has worked hard to get them through the legislature. Realizing how the influence of vouchers could create a win-win for our education and our economy is critical to our understanding of the issue.
Let's take a scenario where a student and a parent want to participate in a voucher program. The state will give them $2,000 in a voucher. They then contribute the rest of those funds to the education out of their pocket, and they can then attend a private school. What we then have as a state is $5,500 left in the public education system.
It's almost like a voluntary tax, and if a family is willing to take some of the pressure off of the state to pay to educate their child, I don't see that as anything but good for our public schools.
We've got to do more than just hope. Hope that we have a good economy. Hope that we have enough money for kids and for schools. We've got to make certain that we use the fraction for our benefit and try to do things that will protect our future.
If we get past the emotions, it's a purely economic issue. If we had enough money to do everything we wanted to do, there'd be no problems with doing what we want to do. With a voucher, it gives us a tool to contribute more money to public education.
I come from a public education family. My father was a dedicated administrator and teacher in the public school system his entire career. I'm a product of public education myself. My 4 children have attended public schools. And yet, I believe as an economist that the reality of the fraction speaks for itself. Vouchers provide the opportunity for us to better fund the educational needs of our children in the state of Utah.
If we stay on the track we're going on now, we're going to have a lot of problems in the future.
We've got one education system, and we've got several facets, and we should be concerned with all of it, and they all should work together.
As we look to the next 20 years, we need to look at our systems in this state and adapt to our future. And I think vouchers is a great way to do that.
I consider vouchers, I think of it just as another option.
They'll spend $100 million on a plane, but we can't get vouchers to educate our kids.
Vouchers, they're really giving you a different way of looking at public education.
Utah is indeed an exceptional place, a place of tradition, a place of learning, a place of family. But Utah is also a place where we boldly face our unique challenges.